Dawn had just broken over Cedar Creek, Montana, where fog still curled around the streetlights and the modest trucks parked outside Sunrise Diner, a small roadside restaurant sitting right at the junction of Highway 89 and Creekside Road. Inside, the clinking of silverware blended with the low, rough voices of a group of bikers in black leather jackets, each bearing the silver-winged shield logo of Iron Valiants MC. They gathered there every Saturday. 15 people at the long table by the window, strong coffee, fried eggs, and a towering stack of pancakes. From afar, they looked intimidating, but locals knew better. These were the people who once rode through a blizzard to help the hospital, who shared food with families who'd lost their homes to wildfires, who stood guard when a drunk man tried to threaten students outside the school. 6:03 a.m. The small bell above the door chimed softly. A little girl stepped inside. Just an 8-year-old child, yet her presence made the entire diner fall silent. Hannah Brooks, wearing an oversized, worn-out pink jacket, faded sneakers, and tiny hands gripping the strap of a purple backpack. But it was her face that silenced everything. Her left eye was swollen so badly it was nearly shut. Her upper lip was cracked, and faint bruises circled her neck like fingerprints pressed too hard. A customer avoided eye contact. Another stared down into the menu. Only the biker table froze. Hannah took a deep breath and walked straight to them. Her voice trembled, but it was clear enough to cut through the radio noise and the sound of coffee dripping. "Mister, can you be my dad? Just for today? If you believe kindness still exists, that no child should ever be forced to choose between fear and silence, please like and subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from." Her name was Hannah Brooks, 8 years old, a third grader at Maple Ridge Elementary. She was the type of student teachers often described as polite, diligent, never causes trouble. Always sitting near the window, clutching her purple backpack like an invisible shield. Hannah didn't talk much, but she drew constantly. Wide skies, long roads, and a winged motorcycle parked beside a tiny house. Hannah lived with her mother, Laura, a woman working 2 jobs, cleaning motel rooms in the morning and waiting tables during the evening shift at a roadside bar. Hannah's biological father, Daniel Brooks, a firefighter, died in a wildfire when she was just 3. Her only memories of him were the smoky scent of his jacket and an embrace so warm it felt like it could cover the whole sky. Life for the mother and daughter had been poor but peaceful until Travis Cole appeared. He spoke gently, fixed plumbing, cracked jokes, and pretended to be very fond of Hannah. After 6 months, Laura believed she had found someone she could rely on. But Travis was not the man he pretended to be. After losing his job, he drank more, slept all day, and exploded over small things. Then yelling turned into hitting. Not always hard, just enough to leave faint bruises Hannah had to hide under long sleeves. Laura rarely saw it. When she came home, Travis would claim Hannah was clumsy, and Hannah, terrified, would say she had fallen or bumped into something. Hannah endured it until the night before career day, when a glass slipped from her hand, shattered on the kitchen floor, and Travis snapped. He grabbed her by the throat and shoved her down the stairs. The next morning, the thought of going to school with Travis made her tremble, but then she thought of the bikers' table at Sunrise Diner, and a tiny spark flickered. If they walked with her, Travis wouldn't dare. So Hannah stepped out of the house, heart pounding like it might burst. The night before was one Hannah would never forget. The kitchen glowed dimly under a yellow bulb, smelling of burnt food. Hannah stood on an old wooden chair washing dishes, her tiny hands slippery with soap. A glass slipped from her fingers and hit the tile floor. Crash! Travis shot up from the sofa, the TV going silent with a click. He stepped toward her, his shadow stretching across the kitchen tiles. You breaking my stuff? His breath, thick with alcohol, blasted into Hannah's face. I'm sorry. He grabbed her wrist, squeezing until her knuckles turned white, then shoved her hard onto the stairs. Hannah's back slammed against the wooden edge, pain blooming violently. She glanced toward the picture on the wall, her father Daniel in firefighting gear, smiling gently with 3-year-old Hannah on his shoulders. Through the dizziness, she thought, if only Dad were still alive. Laura came home near midnight and saw Hannah already asleep, noticing nothing. She was too exhausted to see how slowly Hannah walked or how the little girl hid her swollen hand. The next morning was career day. The whole class buzzed excitedly about their parents. Hannah stayed silent. In her notebook, she only drew a winged motorcycle. Laura wanted to take the morning off to bring Hannah, but she couldn't. Maybe Travis can take you? She suggested cautiously. Hannah went pale. Last night replayed in her mind, the bruises on her neck, the shove on the stairs, Travis's useless thrown at her like a knife. If he showed up at school pretending to smile, the punishment later would be worse. Laura left for work at 5 a.m. Travis was snoring on the living room floor. Hannah sat on the doorstep, clutching her backpack, staring at the road toward Sunrise Diner. She knew the bikers ate there every Saturday. They were big, tattooed, loud, but people in town said they once helped a family who'd lost everything in a wildfire. In that moment, between fear and desperation, a reckless idea lit up inside her. They won't let me be alone. They won't let Travis hurt me again. And Hannah walked. Each step felt like crossing a tightrope, but something in her chest pulled her toward Sunrise Diner like a magnet. The glass door opened, and Hannah saw 15 bikers around the long table. The man at the head was Jack Dalton, salt and pepper beard, tall frame, eyes that understood entire stories without a single word being spoken. He was the first to rise. Hey, kid, Jack knelt to her eye level, his voice deep but warm. What did you just ask us? Hannah bit her lip. Career day. We have to go with a parent. I don't have a dad, and Travis, if he goes tonight, I'm scared. I thought if one of you came, he wouldn't dare. The diner was so quiet they could hear the coffee machine hissing. James, a former cop, noticed the bruises on her wrist. Danny, who had lived in 23 foster homes, recognized the look of a child pretending to be fine to avoid getting hit. Tommy, the oldest, tightened his grip on a bracelet engraved with the name of his sister, who had once suffered under their father's abuse. Jack asked, You want someone to be your dad just for this morning, right? Hannah nodded slightly. Jack stood up, voice steady. Bad news, I can't give you just one dad. Hannah looked down. Good news, Jack smiled, is that I can give you 50. The entire biker table rose at once. Phones lit up. Calls went out. Cedar Creek needs everyone. An 8-year-old just asked for help. Members in nearby chapters got the message. Someone left work. Someone pulled a leather jacket over greasy hands in a repair shop. Someone apologized to his family and jumped on his bike. Meanwhile, Kelly, the blonde waitress, set a giant pancake in front of Hannah. Eat, princess. Free for anyone brave enough to ask for help. Jack called Hannah's mother. Laura nearly collapsed when she heard her daughter was safe. I knew something wasn't right, but I had to work. No one blames you for trying to survive, Jack said gently. But Travis will be arrested today, and Hannah won't walk alone again. By the time Hannah finished eating, 35 bikers from the Cedar Valley chapter had confirmed they were coming. 9:45 a.m. 50 motorcycles thundered into the Maple Ridge Elementary parking lot, forming a protective wall. Jack held Hannah's hand. "You don't have to be afraid anymore. You have a family now." Inside the ER, Dr. Rivera examined each of Hannah's injuries. 3 fractured ribs, deep bruising, signs of strangulation. One more night like last night, and she might not have survived. Laura cried, clutching her head. Hannah held her hand. "I'm sorry for making you sad." "No, sweetheart. It was never your fault." Jack handed the photos and documents to James, who had already contacted an old lieutenant he still trusted at the Cedar Creek Police Department. At 9:15, officers stormed into the house. Travis was handcuffed while still half asleep. Charges: child abuse, assault, endangerment. Neighbors, who had once heard yelling and thuds but never intervened, stood at their windows, ashamed. At 10 minutes to 10, the bikers poured into the school lot like a blackened silver river. Teachers, parents, and students fell silent. Not out of fear, but because they had never seen a child protected like this. Principal Henderson approached. "I'm sorry. This event is for parents." Jack smiled. Hannah invited her family, and today, she has quite a few relatives. Mrs. Henderson noticed the bandage over Hannah's eye, the way the girl held Jack's hand. She exhaled softly. "Welcome to Career Day." When 50 bikers entered the gym, the room went silent, but soon no one looked at them. Everyone looked at Hannah. During the career presentations, Jack addressed the students. "We fix bikes, ride long roads, bring supplies to homes cut off by storms, and help women and children escape unsafe places. Kids like Hannah learn to stay silent to survive. We're here to tell you, silence is not your duty." A student raised his hand. Mason, a curly-haired boy. "My dad hits my mom." Mason's father, standing at the back, flushed red. "This kid." James and 10 bikers stepped forward. "You can walk out on your own, or in a police car." The man left. Mason's mother burst into tears. Ms. Carter hugged them both. The room understood then. Today was not just Career Day. Today was the day a child dared to speak, and the whole community heard her. After that day, Iron Valiants MC and the school formed a program called Shield of Hope, a safety net for children who no longer had a safe place to call home. At first, only a few schools joined. Then, neighboring towns followed. Carpenters, drivers, retired officers, single mothers, all came together to build a network protecting kids. Hannah became the face of the program. From a quiet girl clutching a purple backpack, she grew into the child who stood before the district education board and said, "Family isn't only the people who share your last name. Family is the people who show up when you need them, who believe you when you're trembling, and who stay when life gets hard." Years later, people realized that morning when Hannah walked into Sunrise Diner, she didn't just save herself. She sparked a movement, reminding everyone that kindness isn't some distant ideal. Kindness is an action. It is listening. It is choosing to stand with the vulnerable. If Hannah's story touched you, remember, you don't need to ride a motorcycle or wear leather to be someone's shield. Listening to a child, checking in on a neighbor, or believing a small cry for help, that alone makes you part of kindness. If you believe kindness can save a child's entire life, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories 365. And let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And have you ever witnessed a shield of kindness in your life?